Greetings, Sir and Sirettes, and welcome to the first half of the answer segment to the Q&A. Now, I've decided to cut this into two segments because there were just so many questions that I want to answer. Now, I was originally going to only answer a few, but since so many of them were actually quite good and either had changed since last time or were completely new, I figured I'll try and answer as many as possible. So the very first question, in fact, the very first series of questions, since so many people ask me this: where is From the Depths and where is Ark Survival Evolved? Apparently two popular series on the channel. When it comes to From the Depths, by the time this video goes up, I should have already posted part 13, and essentially, From the Depths is coming back full time, as it was always intended to be, with the issues I had recently with recording, which was basically a very small bout of minor depression. I was ill, and there was construction work right underneath my apartment. I couldn't really record much of anything, and From the Depths is very difficult to record even at the best of times. It takes a lot of hours of work, a lot of hours just messing around with stuff, and I simply couldn't put the hours in to actually get that to work. When it comes to Ark Survival Evolved, I will go back to it eventually. That is the plan. I have already streamed it a few times, twitch.tv/Lathrix, but I'm not really planning on doing it anytime soon as a YouTube series. I really loved it at the time. I got very far in it, I killed the brood mother and all that stuff, but honestly I'm still very burned out by it. It's a great game, I really want to go back to it, but until it feels like a new experience again and I can think of something to make it fresh for me, since I will be starting again, I don't want to go back to the world I was on because, well, it's just been too long. I won't be touching Ark again for a while. How long have you been doing YouTube, and what inspired you to start making videos? Well, I think I've been doing YouTube now for around about 2 years, maybe a little bit more, maybe a little bit less, but I've been taking it seriously as something I really wanted to do as a hobby and then eventually as a job for around about a year now, I think, maybe a little bit more than a year I've been taking it seriously, because at the start I posted maybe one video a month for a while, or at least every few weeks. I wasn't really taking it very seriously. I just recorded myself just solid, no editing, and just put up the video. Pretty much what I'm doing now, but with far less care what actually went up on the channel, as I tend to delete a lot of videos now and I'm not happy with them. When it comes to what inspired me for YouTube, that's a bit of a weird one. It's a mixture of things. I got told by a friend that I would do well doing certain types of very slow Let's Play because my voice is quite methodic. I have to think about everything I say, and actually I really wanted to improve my speech at the time, so it was a good combination, honestly. I have a speech impediment, for those who don't know. I'm just getting this out of the way now because someone else asks me later, so I'm skipping a question, mahaha. But I have a speech impediment. I actually have a block stammer, which doesn't come across very much when it comes to recording, because honestly, I can speak very methodically when I'm recording. I can think about every word extremely slowly. That, combined with 7 years of speech therapy, kind of works hand in hand that I can speak without stammering when recording on a microphone. Less so if you ever meet me in real life, but combining the two, I got told that I would do well and I wanted to improve my speech, so I gave it a shot, and after the first few episodes of doing Rogue Legacy, I was simply hooked and wanted to continue. Mac or PC? Well, I've never actually owned a Mac in my life, so I guess it'll be PC. Honestly, I tend to just look at the cost, and I tend to look at what the computer can actually do for me in terms of stats, and honestly, generally speaking, I tend to go for the PC for my personal use. Maybe a Mac is better in certain ways, but never in any way that would be applicable to me. What happened to the capital ship? Of course, this is referring to From the Depths, the capital ship which I'd spent 4, maybe 5 episodes building. Sadly, updates happened. The engines needed to be rehauled massively, the weapons were completely broke, the AI was completely broke, the back movement system simply vanished. I have no idea how that happened, but it did, and a lot of the stuff making it float no longer worked correctly and needs to be replaced. It's going to take me, I'm guessing, at least 3 or 4 hours just to do like one of each of these problems. So eventually I do want to bring the capital ship back, but I'm probably going to bring it back near the end of the current season we're in, because honestly speaking, with From the Depths, you can abuse the fact that the game will always allow you to spawn in at least one ship into a battle. That means you can just build huge. You don't really have to build well, but you can just block spam, just guns everywhere, and annihilate every single enemy in the game because you've just covered the entire ocean with a single ship. The capital ship is that ship. It also has smaller ships and planes attached to it, so it's a pretty good ship for completely annihilating and breaking the game. I don't want to do that until a bit later, although I am planning on building a new large ship, which will be larger than the Hellmouth, which honestly I'm still not sure if it's a cruiser, a frigate, or a battleship at this stage, or some form of ironclad monstrosity. Why do you like Robocraft, and how did you get started? Well, I just played it as a spur-of-the-moment thing because it was on the featured page on Steam, and I like it because, as you can probably tell by the channel, I like games where I can be somewhat creative despite not really being a very creative person, and I like games in which you are either punished or rewarded for doing well with that. Even if I tend to do poorly, I would like to be punished for that and then do well and do better, and I like having freedom in that aspect as well. I'm not a massive fan of games which make you do something, so a lot of games with a very linear storyline I tend not to do very well in. I love RPGs with very branching stories, but never really ones where you go and do A, then you go to B. I want to go and do A, then kind of meander around, build something stupid, then come back to B later after I've did Z, X, and perhaps P, but not any of the others for some reason. So that's really that. Even if at the moment creativity is being stifled a little bit, which gets into a question later, I still love Robocraft at this stage, and yeah, that's really pretty much that. That's why I like it, it's the type of game I like, and I got started because Steam told me so. What recording/editing program do you use? Well, that depends on the program I'm actually recording generally, as different recording software does better in different circumstances. I use Fraps generally, despite the fact I wouldn't actually recommend it, which is really weird to say, because Fraps is definitely outdated now. There are better recording softwares out there, but it's simple, it's really easy to use, and it gives you lossless recordings pretty much perfectly, and works well with pretty much every program, except for a few. Now, when those few rear their ugly head, I have OBS, which I'm recording my face on currently, and I also use DX Story, which is definitely the best out of the bunch there, and there's plenty of others. When it comes to editing, I have, actually I'm going to open it up right now because I've just forgot the sodding name of it. We have Movie Studio 13, and I also use a free bit of editing software, which I'm not even going to mention the name of because you can no longer get it from its old site, which is now gone, and everywhere else seems really sketchy. So I don't want to end up kind of coaxing you to go and downloading something very, very bad onto your computer. I can't even remember the full name of that one either, because apparently I have the memory of a goldfish on very weird drugs. Lathrix, what is your opinion on how much Robocraft is changing? It is incredibly mixed, to be perfectly honest, to be diplomatic. Some things I absolutely hate, some things I absolutely love. I love the idea of having different weapons on your robot. That was a big change, and I absolutely adored it in every single way. I hated the removal of tiers. Absolutely, completely did not like it, and to this day still don't like it. I don't like how they're focusing so much on Battle Arena. I dislike that immensely because it's my least favourite battle mode. My least favourite, battle mode I guess is the right word there, whatever you want to call it. And there are other things I dislike and other things I do like. I think really though we have to look at it as more of a big picture thing and look where they're heading. Where are all of these changes kind of accumulating? And I think the end result is going to be good, but it's not going to be the Robocraft I fell in love with, it's not going to be the Robocraft I'm used to, and will I even like it at the end? I don't know, but honestly, that's to be expected. It's an alpha game which is relying heavily on feedback of users to an extent, and relying heavily on the developers seeing what they like, seeing what they don't like, and ultimately moulding the game they want it to be at the end. It's been I think one of the big problems is it's been a very long alpha process, even for a game such as this, such as an indie game. It's been so long that it's enabled so many shifts in what the game wants to be, and that's a big issue. Look, there's megabots. Goodbye, megabots. Look, we have tiers. No, never mind. Flattening everything, so even weapons are now equal of different rankings, which is so weird. The minor laser shoots faster and weaker and drains your energy, I don't know if it's faster or slower, and is less accurate, and the bigger laser does more damage and is more accurate, but they're technically equal because they're different. I don't know if I like that, if I don't like that. It's just going to be a completely different game, and I have no idea if that's a good thing or a bad thing at this stage. Here's one I've been asked quite a bit in the past. How do you pick robots for your factory showcase? Of course, referring to Factory Fun. Well, it's a bit of a semi-random process. That's what I would like to call it. Pretty much, I use an online randomizer. I pick 50% plus of one specific type of robot. For instance, on that day, if I want to test out a laser vehicle, because I haven't tested out one for a while, or I just want to test out one, I pick 50% of that to kind of heavily weigh it in my favour, and then 50% completely random. It's generally the first ones I see, or I just go in comments listed in order, or top comments, whatever. It tends to be quite random even in that respect. They all go into the randomizer 50-50-ish, and then the one it picks is the one it picks. Sometimes it's a bit weird and my 50% simply doesn't win. For instance, I had 25k ranking robots like 5-6 weeks in a row, even though every time I was picking the smaller robots and stuff like that. I want to give it a good equal chance for everyone who comments, because there's a lot of comments, and at the same time I do want to make sure there's some variety, and I think I've kind of got a system which enables that to the best of my ability. I could simply put every single robot into the randomizer, but A, that takes far too long and I'm far too lazy, and B, that does have the potential of it simply picking the same type of robot every single time, because what I have noticed, some types of robot get built by people in the community a lot more than others, so it wouldn't actually be as random as you might think if I simply added everyone, because there's a good chance that type of robot would be picked every single time I wanted to record. So that's pretty much that. Semi-random with a whole heap of bias. What is it like to be dyslexic? It's really difficult to describe for anyone who isn't dyslexic, and even other people who are dyslexic generally have very different symptoms to you, so trying to describe your experience to those can also be difficult. For me, the best way to describe it would be I simply see the word wrong. My friend, who is a lot worse than me in terms of how dyslexic she is, in terms of how severe the issue is, say she actually sees the words almost moving like ants. Personally, I've never experienced that, but when I look at a word, I can see it completely wrong. It's clearly the wrong word to anyone else, but I can keep on looking back at that word and seeing it wrong every single time, because my brain has decided that is what the word is. And that's kind of my mileage, so you'll find that in videos when I'm reading, I simply just say a random word. The word is clearly not there, and I either insert it into the sentence or swap a word for it, and that tends to be my issue, which has been a big issue when it comes to exams, when it came to university, but it's something you kind of learn to live with, you learn to take precautions, and you learn to not trust anything you read. There's a good chance I've probably read one of the comments wrong, or will read one of the comments wrong. The power of editing and maybe removing a question. Are you going to do more Stonehearth? Yes, I will, because I absolutely adore the game. However, I was halfway through recording a new season rather, and the first episode I encountered some really horrible bugs that made me want to scratch my eyes out, and at that stage I went, nope, I'm waiting until this is hotfixed, and then I didn't touch it again for a while. So I know that the newest alpha is out. I will be going back to it, and actually I've seen a lot of the hotfixes, even one specifically mentioning the issue I had, so I should be going back to it, I would say fairly soon, but no promises really, just I do promise to go back to it, no promises when I'm going back to it. Another very common question, a little bit too common to simply put one person's comment on the screen. What are your PC specs? I tend to give very vague PC specs, half because A, I've forgotten half of the stuff, and B, it's a custom build, and I have far too many people trying to second guess everything I picked and everything I done, so I simply say the very, very basics. I have it's dual GTX 980s with an SLI bridge, I've got 32 gigs of RAM, which I quickly realise is far too much and I simply don't use, and I have a 3TB hard drive, another 3TB hard drive, and a 1TB SSD, which name I can't remember. Once again, vague as hell, because I've forgot the name for everything, including what RAM it is. It's just a generally decent computer, good computer really, although I am thinking about updating it soon and using this one as a very powerful rendering computer to make everything a lot easier in life. So, I hope that answers some people's questions, although it probably raises more questions than it actually has answered. I'm good at this whole Q&A thing. Stardew Valley, please? I wasn't really going to include any questions like this for most of the specific can you play X game, because there's quite a few of them, and honestly, generally my answer is always the same, maybe in the future. But for Stardew Valley, it's one of those ones where I've been requested quite a lot, mostly because a lot of YouTubers of similar styles to me, namely Avok mostly, have played a lot of Stardew Valley when it first came out, and have continued to play it. The thing is, I never got into Harvest Moon or any games like that. Although I should like it, I simply didn't really enjoy it. But I feel like Stardew Valley might be an exception, so I'm very likely to stream it. In fact, I'm almost certain to stream it in the coming month or so, because I actually have it already in my Steam library. But I don't know if I'll make it a YouTube series. Maybe if I really like it while streaming, I might start doing it on YouTube as well. But make sure to look out for twitch.tv/Lathrix Stardew Valley. Shameless plug for a second time already. Would something like a From the Depths mini-series be possible, where you pit your creations against some of the popular stuff on the workshop? Maybe, honestly. I did do one episode of a mini-series, which was the From the Depths Showcase, which had mixed opinions from the community, and I am tempted to bring that back, as it's quite easy to record, it's quite easy to set up, and I'm trying to think of a way to keep it a bit more interesting, as it's not my normal type of style, so it would be quite difficult to keep it interesting. The one idea I did have is actually similar to this, and it was to get 2 or 3 of similar designs from the workshop, and simply throw them together and make them kill each other after showing off each one. For instance, if people have built something like a historical ship, which a lot of people have, and some of them look awesome, well, we'll pit several historical ships against each other, even if they're from completely different eras and completely different styles, because fairness isn't really that fun when you compare a giant cannon destroying a small ship, because that is fun. Am I a demon worshipper?
No.
Do you think Robocraft should bring back the boss battles? Actually, surprisingly, yes. The thing is, though, I don't think it should have been implemented how it was before, but it's going to be difficult to implement it in any other way. And for those who don't know what I'm talking about, beforehand, when the boss battles occurred, you queued up for a normal battle, and occasionally you were simply thrown into a boss battle. You could manually queue up to be the boss, but it was an automatic queue, like a hidden queue, and it's less likely you get into a boss battle after you've had one, but even so, I personally didn't like them at the time, but looking back, it's a really cool concept. The problem is, though, Robocraft is going for a tier flattening system at the moment, and ranking flattening system, and going off only CPU and player level, so even figuring out what should be a boss might be a bit difficult in the future. I would love to see them back in a better way, but I personally have no idea how they would be implemented in the future. Lath, why haven't you been doing the Robocraft series, the original one? I assume you mean basically the series which isn't leveling and isn't factory fun, simply Robocraft. That's because I haven't been enjoying building. Building at the moment in Robocraft for the sake of building isn't something I enjoy. Things die too quickly, and designs are pretty meta. You build certain types of robot and do well, or you build the more fun option. If you can find fun in that, that's fantastic, but you're probably not going to do as well. And of course there are exceptions. I mean, look at Gromek, look at people like Jack. They do remarkably well with their test the stupidity and stuff like that, but I personally don't enjoy that. I want to do decently with the things I build. I want to find new weird ways of playing, but every time I try and do that, I get shot down instantly by a missile in my face, or a flak in my face, or proto-seekers destroying my designs. And with designs being killed so quickly, which is actually a problem Cluely has repeatedly mentioned on Twitter, which it's good to see other people having similar problems to me, is basically what I'm saying there. It has really sapped my love of building new things in Robocraft for the time being. Unless the meta becomes slower, I'm probably going to continue to review other robots and make fun of them in my own special way, or simply level up, in which I can build a meta robot and simply run myself into the enemy, using mechs with flak and megaplasma and all that good stuff, which is pretty much my leveling account's robot at the moment. I tried being a flyer, and I wanted to kill people in real life after playing it for too long. And I mean that as in the traditional boring flyer, which I love. It just doesn't do too well at the moment, at least the type of playstyle I'm having. So, again, long answer for a pretty simple question. What is your favourite non-computer activity? That's worded in such an awesome way. My favourite non-computer activity would probably be model painting, and I mean that not as in the live models, but as in models. I don't have one currently on the desk for the first time in like a month. Models like the Warhammer 40k and Warhammer Fantasy series, which is now called Warhammer Sigmar, or just Age of Sigmar, which is just weird. I like painting and constructing models, particularly custom models, so doing a lot of modelling like that, with like modelling clay and such. I'm a pet keeper. It's a hobbyist kind of thing with tarantulas and stuff, so I care for those. I don't really have one specific thing. I like reading. I like going out and jogging. I'm a big outdoorsy person. I used to hike on a regular basis, and I've been using that to lose weight recently on my vlog channel. Ooh, another shameless plug, third one of the Q&A. I knew what that was called. So that's really hard to answer for me, because computers are a big part of my life, and outside of that I'm quite sporadic. I don't really have one specific thing I want to do. There's lots of little things I want to do, so that's a really roundabout answer. I like doing things, is basically the answer to that. I'm getting better at this Q&A thing. Just every question, just so much better. Why did you stop uploading Plague Inc? I'm kinda new and I really like the series, so can you answer me and many others wondering? Since I have seen this question a few times now, I will answer it. Again, I'm trying to avoid specific game questions because it can be a bit repetitive, so I do try to answer them generally in their own series, but since Plague Inc.'s not been here for so long, it certainly makes sense. Well, Plague Inc. was my first big game I played on YouTube, and honestly one of the reasons why my channel even grew in the first place. It was a niche game that was getting popular as I was already playing it. It was pretty darn lucky, honestly. I stopped playing Plague Inc. because at this stage I have got Mega Brutal in every single Plague in every single stupid way I can think of. I've got all of the achievements that interest me. I'm not much of an achievement hunter, honestly. The speedruns I find dull and are still plagued with hackers. And when it comes to custom scenarios, I have played all the good ones, and they've started being updated very slowly because the game has, of course, lost the initial hype. It's not being updated very quickly when it comes to new custom scenarios. If the game ever gets a massive burst in popularity, which gets a load of new custom scenarios in, there is a very good chance I'll start recording the custom scenarios again, because I love them to bits. I adore people's creativity. I adore being confused and led astray by randomness in like all the custom scenarios, since it's always a new experience. But at the moment, I just keep finding myself playing the same ones over and over. Some of the new ones are less than good, even the ones raising the ranks, and I would just be negative about every single one I play, and that's not really what I want to do. I want to give good star ratings to them. I want to really enjoy myself while playing them. So if they ever get updated more, then yes. So if it gets more popular, which leads to getting more updated, yes, I will play more Plague Inc. in the future. But that's really why I stopped. It became stagnant. The game stagnated, and I had done in excess of 100 custom scenarios at that point. I had definitely played that game more than many people play any game on their channel. What's the first game you ever played? That would be the first game I remember playing, so this isn't even going to be me playing it much. I'm going to give the literal answer to this. Since I'm assuming you mean computer game or Game Boy game or anything like that, like a console game, electronic game I should say, then I would say playing on my cousin's black and white Game Boy, and I played Pokemon Red or Yellow. I can't remember, it's one of the two. I played it for like a week because I pretty much stole it from him, and I was too young to really understand what the hell I was doing, and I think I must have killed a Squirtle about 20 times, and by killed I mean made faint. Honestly, with how badly I was doing being so young, I probably actually killed the Pokemon doing that. So yeah, that would be Pokemon Red or Yellow, I really can't remember which, and that's the first one I can remember playing. I probably played more than that because I had a lot of the very old consoles, but no, that's the first one I remember. What is love? You know that feeling when you want a specific food really, really badly, and after maybe 10 plus hours you finally get that food and you're simply allowed to enjoy it for as long as you want? That feeling when you first get it into your grimy hands, that is love. When is the new reassembly season coming? Now that I am uploading videos regularly again, now that all the issues have gone, at least that's what should be happening, coming on Tuesday onwards, since I've got like regular recording spots again. Yay! Reassembly should probably be started sometime in May. I'm actually going on holiday at the end of May, which really helps out. Now I'm finally back into YouTube, but that's only for a few days, so obviously I can record for when I'm gone, no issue. But probably before then, so before the holiday, so mid-May-ish, I do actually really want to get back into Reassembly. It's one of my all-time favourite games, and there are so many more mods to try out and so many suggestions from you all, so that will be coming soon. And it's just something I enjoy recording, so it's certainly not gone forever. Just like Stonehearth. Are you planning on keeping YouTube as your main job, or are you going to change that in the near future? I definitely want to keep YouTube as my main job for as long as possible. I can't see myself being happier in any other profession, although I am now trained as a car mechanic and I'm trained as a microbiologist, trained specifically in cancer research, actually viral therapy into cancer research. I just can't see myself being happier even in the dream jobs in either of those professions. I spent many years learning both of those. Honestly, I like yelling at a microphone and playing games far more, as well as of course interacting with a community. Being someone who was very shy when they were younger, incredibly shy, and had social anxiety, being able to talk and people actually listen, I can't imagine doing anything else which would be more validating and more fun and more enjoyable. I just can't. I can't imagine myself now in a traditional job again, because I just love this. It's really a dream come true. So, yeah, sticking for YouTube for as long as possible. If I'm 80 and still doing YouTube, I've done something right. If YouTube is still around when I'm 80, I'll be really surprised, but if it is, well done YouTube as well. A pat on the back for you, Google. Cats or dogs? That would definitely be dogs. I've always had a dog up until this point now. I think, yeah, it would be this year would be the first year I've not had a dog, so definitely dogs. Nothing against cats, just my family have never been really big into cats, so I've never really had one in my life. My fiance, on the other hand, has always had a cat and always had a dog, so that would be a much more weird question for her. And with that, I'm going to cut here. This is the end of the first half of the answer segment. Hopefully, I've answered everything somewhat decently. There are a lot of questions left, so I'll be getting into them on part 2, which should hopefully be coming out either the day after this one comes out, so probably on Tuesday, or maybe the day after, depending on how much editing and how many other series I need to do, because sadly Q&A definitely lower on the order of importance. So, thank you for watching, hope you have enjoyed the video, and if you'd like to see more videos like this in the future, then of course likes, favourites, shares, comments, all that good stuff helps out me, helps out the channel, and most importantly, does what I've already said because I messed up the outro.